I was never the flashy one. That was always Darren, my older brother. Loud, charming, magnetic. The kind of person who could walk into a room full of strangers and have everyone laughing within 5 minutes. Me? I was quieter, observant. The one people forgot was in the room until they needed something fixed. Growing up, Darren always had a new scheme, selling baseball cards, trading sneakers, trying to build a YouTube empire before we even had stable Wi-Fi. I admired his hustle in a way, but I also watched how our parents coddled him. Every time he failed, there was a net, mom's savings, dad's connections, a quietly covered-up debt. I didn't get nets, I got lectures, so I learned to walk tightropes. While Darren dropped out of college to chase a tech dream in LA, I took a corporate job straight out of school. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. I lived below my means, said no to the trips, the watches, the dinners out. I watched my savings grow like a quiet garden. And after 10 years, I had exactly $204,000 sitting in my account. That money was my future. A down payment, a buffer. Maybe one day, seed money for my own idea. Then came the knock. It was a Sunday. I remember because I was cleaning out my fridge, tossing expired yogurt and feeling vaguely adult. Darren called out from the hallway like we were still kids in our parents' house. "Yo, you decent?" I opened the door, surprised. I hadn't seen him in over a year. "Darren," I said, "everything okay?" He gave me a hug that didn't feel real, too eager, too rehearsed, and I smelled it, desperation, masked under cologne. Yeah, everything's great, I just needed to talk to you, face to face." He sat on my couch like it was his, opened a soda from my fridge without asking. Then he launched into it. A new venture, a health and wellness app. "Disruptive," he said, "totally scalable." He had partners, projections, even a mock-up he showed me on his phone. "Look, I know you've got some savings," Darren said. "I wouldn't come to you if I didn't believe in this. I need a $200K investment. Just a bridge round. You'll be the first in." I stared at him. "Darren," I said slowly, "you're asking for all of it. Literally every cent I have." He waved his hand like I was being dramatic. "You're single. No kids, no mortgage. What's money doing just sitting there? This is how wealth happens. You trust people you love." Trust. That word stuck in my throat like glass. I asked to see the financials, real ones. He got defensive, said I was killing the vibe, that I always needed control, that I didn't get entrepreneurship. "Because I don't throw money at unvetted fantasies?" I snapped. "Because I learned to think before I leap?" That's when his voice changed. No more charm, just venom. "You think you're better than me," Darren hissed, "because you got your little desk job and your 401k. You think you're smarter, but you've never risked anything." I stood up. My hands were shaking. "I risked everything just staying quiet all these years," I said. "I watched you burn down opportunity after opportunity while Mom and Dad cleaned up the mess. I'm done being the silent investor in your chaos." He left in silence. 2 days later, I got a call from my parents. "You broke his heart," my mother said. "He came to you humbly, and you humiliated him." "I told him no," I replied. "That's not humiliation. That's a boundary." My father was colder. "He's your brother. You've always had more. It was your turn to help." They made it sound like I'd betrayed blood, like refusing to gamble everything I had made me cruel. And then the letter came. From Darren's lawyer. He was suing me for breach of verbal contract and emotional damages. Said I'd made a promise to fund his startup during a prior family dinner, which was a lie. No such promise existed. I hired a lawyer. Thankfully, it didn't go far. got dismissed within weeks. But something deeper broke. I didn't get a call from Mom on my birthday that year. No Christmas invitation, no texts, no updates. I was cut off, just like that. They chose him. Or maybe they were just tired of me not playing my part. The quiet, dutiful sibling, the fallback plan, the ATM with no interest. I didn't beg, I didn't explain. I just packed up my life and left. No farewell dinner, no dramatic speech. Just a silent exit. I moved out of state with 3 suitcases and a spine made of splinters. Didn't know anyone in the new city. Rented a studio above a laundromat. The ceiling leaked when it rained. The mattress was on the floor. The fridge hummed like it was lonely. But it was mine. No one knew me as Darren's sibling. No one cared what I did or didn't fund. I could breathe again, though at first it felt like learning to do it for the first time. I worked a job I didn't love. Project manager at a logistics firm. The kind of work where the numbers change but the headaches stay the same. Still, I saved. I watched every cent, cooked at home, walked instead of Ubered. Said no to brunch, no to weekends away, no to new clothes unless something had a hole in it. I didn't say no out of bitterness. I said no because I had a plan. See, before all the drama with Darren, I'd started sketching out an idea, something small, quiet, not disruptive or scalable, just human. It started when I visited a neighborhood cafe on a trip once, years ago. The owner knew every customer's name. The place smelled like cardamom and fresh bread. Strangers talked to each other like neighbors. It wasn't loud, it wasn't hip, it was home. That cafe lived in my mind for years. I started thinking, what if that warmth wasn't an exception? What if I could build something like that, but make it sustainable? Not just one cafe, a space, a brand, a lifestyle rooted in care, not clout, a hospitality company, but with soul. The world didn't need another luxury chain. It needed places where people felt seen. I called it Grove House, a nod to growth, roots, and shelter. At first, it was just sketches in a notebook after work. Then it was late nights at the library researching zoning laws and lease terms. I watched tutorials on restaurant accounting, customer experience, HR, even plumbing basics. The first year, just planning. The second, fundraising. I didn't ask for investors. I bootstrapped, sold my car, cashed part of my 401k, took out a modest loan. Every dollar was tracked in a spreadsheet with obsessive precision. When I signed the lease on the first location, a dusty former bookstore on a sleepy side street, I cried in the middle of the empty floor. Not from fear, from finally. It took 6 more months to open. I learned how to lay tile, how to seal a countertop, how to negotiate with contractors who looked past me like I was invisible. I wasn't. I was building something that would outlast them. The day Grove House opened, only 12 customers showed up, but 4 came back the next day, and the next. Soon we had regulars, a retired teacher who read poetry on Saturdays, a college kid who studied there till midnight, a nurse who said our chai tasted like her grandmother's. We didn't advertise. We didn't need to. Word spread on its own. 3 years in, I opened a second location. This one had a garden in the back, a little pond, string lights. We hosted open mic nights, grief circles, local artist exhibits. No pressure, just presence. Still, I never plastered my name on anything. I wasn't the face. I was the roots. People thought I'd disappeared. The family definitely did. They never reached out, not once. No, how are you? No, where are you? I could have been dead, for all they knew. Part of me wanted them to see. Another part didn't care anymore. Then something unexpected happened. An old friend from school found me through Grove House's website. She messaged, I had no idea this was you. I just went to your cafe. It felt like you were still here somehow. I didn't know how to respond, because the truth was, I was still there. I was more me than I'd ever been. I started journaling again. My headaches went away. I stopped flinching when people said family. I realized I hadn't failed them. They'd just never seen who I really was, and maybe that was never my job. Success didn't feel like fireworks or applause. It felt like locking the doors at closing time, sweeping the floor, and humming to the same jazz track on loop. It felt like walking home under a quiet sky with the knowledge that no one could take this from me. It felt like choosing peace every day without asking for permission. But just when I thought the past had settled into the ground, it sent an invitation. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, embossed, no return address, just my name, first and last, in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a formal invitation. Darren's engagement party, black tie, RSVP requested. The venue? The Alder at Grove Ridge. I read the address again. Then a third time. My hands went cold. That wasn't just any venue. That was one of mine. We'd opened it quietly last year. A soft launch, private events only. No public branding connected it to Grove House, but the design was unmistakable. Arched cedar beams, terraced gardens, a kitchen designed around communal tables. It had taken 2 years to build. And now, somehow, without knowing, it had been booked by him. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake, or a trap. But when I checked the reservation records, there it was. Booked under the fiancé's family name, paid in full. Darren had no idea who owned the venue, no idea he was stepping into my world. I stared at the RSVP card. A part of me wanted to rip it up, toss it in the trash and never look back. But another part, quieter, steadier, thought, no, not for revenge, not to gloat, just to be there, to stop hiding from the life I built, to stand in my own house on my own terms. I mailed the RSVP the next day. Formal acceptance. +1 declined. And then I went still. The weeks passed slowly. I didn't tell anyone, not my staff, not even my closest friend Mia, who helped me write the original Grove House mission statement on a napkin 5 years ago. I just watched the calendar inch forward. Every few nights, I'd have the same dream. I'd walk into the venue and no one would recognize me. Not Darren, not my parents, not even myself. Then came the day. I arrived an hour early. I wore a tailored black suit. Minimalist, understated. No logo, no fanfare. Just presence. The manager, Luis, greeted me at the side entrance. He'd only ever known me as the founder, not the sibling of tonight's guest of honor. "You okay?" he asked. "You look calm, but like the kind of calm before something happens." I smiled. "I'm just here to observe." The venue looked stunning. Candles lit along the stone path, the scent of eucalyptus and wood smoke in the air, music low and warm. Guests began to arrive in clusters. And then I saw him. Darren, still the same walk, still the same voice carrying across the courtyard. He looked good, clean-cut, confident. Arm around his fiancée, who wore a sleek white dress and a too bright smile. They didn't see me at first. My parents came in next. Mom clutched her pearls like a lifeline. Dad was talking to a man in a navy suit, probably the fiancé's father. They looked proud, expansive. Like this party confirmed something they'd always believed, that Darren had made it. And maybe he had. But he hadn't built this. I stayed on the edge of the crowd. Staff greeted me with quiet nods. No one said my name out loud. That was our agreement. Then came the moment. One of the guests, a woman in heels too high for the garden gravel, turned to the fiancé's parents and said, This place is incredible. Who designed it? Oh, said the fiancé's mother. It's a boutique brand, I think. We just found it online. But the event manager said the founder's supposed to stop by tonight. Darren chimed in. Yeah, I know people. We got lucky. That's when Luis walked over. He addressed the group politely. Would you like to meet the founder? They're here. Everyone turned, and I stepped forward. Luis smiled. This is the owner of Grove Ridge and the founder of the Grove House Collective. The air changed. Someone gasped. The fiancé's father raised his eyebrows. Darren's mouth parted slightly. Wait, you're kidding. I looked him in the eye. No, I'm not. He stared at me like I was a ghost. You own this place? I built it, I said. From the ground up. No anger, no spite, just truth. The fiancé glanced between us. You never said your sibling was in hospitality? Darren said nothing. My mother looked like she'd swallowed her own tongue. My father looked at his shoes. I gave a small, professional smile. I hope the venue is to your liking. Let me know if anything needs adjusting. And I walked away. Later, Darren found me in the corridor by the kitchen. His voice was tight. So this is your big moment, huh? Flexing for the family? I turned slowly. This wasn't about you. Bull, he snapped. You could have said something. You let me walk in here blind. I met his glare. You sued me. You cut me off. Why would I assume you wanted to know anything about my life? He flinched. I was desperate, he muttered. It was never personal. It was to me, I said quietly. You didn't just ask, you demanded. And when I didn't give, you tried to destroy me. He ran a hand through his hair. I thought you were just playing it safe, playing small. I shook my head. I was building something real. And I didn't need applause. I just needed peace. He stood there, empty-handed. For once, no comeback, no charm, just a man who suddenly didn't recognize the world he'd stepped into. And I finally saw him clearly. He wasn't the villain, just a boy who always expected the world to rearrange itself around him. But I wasn't the world. Not anymore. I stayed for the rest of the evening, not out of obligation, but because I wanted to see how it all played out. The courtyard sparkled under the canopy of lights. Laughter echoed from one corner, clinking glasses from another. But underneath the gloss, the energy had shifted. Conversations became cautious. Curious eyes trailed me as I passed. I wasn't the sibling anymore. I was something they didn't have a name for. Inside, the main room buzzed with quiet confusion. A guest I didn't recognize, a business associate of Darren's maybe, approached me near the drink table. He extended a hand. You're the founder, right? The Grove House places? Beautiful work. My wife and I thought this was some Swiss group. Never expected to meet the mind behind it in person. I nodded politely. Thank you. We try to keep things grounded. Human. He smiled. Well, mission accomplished. I noticed Darren across the room, watching us. He didn't smile. My mother cornered me near the hors d'oeuvres. Her voice was low, tight with strain. I had no idea about any of this. I said nothing. She blinked. You built this? All of it, I replied. You could have told us, she said, almost accusing. I looked at her, and for the first time, there was no heat in me. No need to explain, just calm. I did. You just weren't listening. She opened her mouth to object, then closed it. Her eyes darted as if checking whether anyone was watching. That cafe, the one on Walnut Street near the old theater, that's yours too? I nodded. Her face shifted. A flicker of awe or regret or both. Your father's been telling everyone it's a franchise from Italy, she whispered. Let him, I said. Doesn't change what it is. She reached out as if to touch my arm. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I know, I said. But it still did. She dropped her hand. Later, I slipped out onto the upper terrace. The air was cool. Crickets sang below the hill. From up here, I could see the full layout of the venue. The candlelit paths, the long wooden tables, the fire pit glowing at the center. People I hadn't spoken to in years were eating food from my kitchen, walking on floors I'd chosen, laughing beneath lights I'd strung with my own hands. And yet, I felt nothing like revenge, just distance. Peaceful, earned distance. Darren joined me eventually. His jacket was off, his sleeves rolled. He looked less polished now, more like the boy I used to race down the stairs with before school. He leaned on the railing beside me. Was it all for this? He asked. I didn't answer. He shook his head. You really kept it quiet. I glanced at him. It wasn't a secret, I just didn't shout. He kicked at the floor lightly. They're all talking about you now, you know that, right? I'm used to silence, I said. Noise doesn't mean much anymore. He sighed. Look, I know I messed up. I waited. But you just cut us off. I protected myself, I said. That lawsuit, he began. Was a betrayal, I interrupted, and a line you can't uncross. He looked away. I was angry. I thought you owed me. I didn't, I said, and you never saw that. He rubbed his face. I was drowning, and you had a raft. I had a future, I said quietly. One I built. That doesn't mean I owed it to you. He nodded slowly. So what now? I looked out at the trees, the hills, the quiet life I had shaped with no applause. I don't know, I said. I'm not angry anymore, but I'm not yours to guilt either. He didn't argue, didn't beg, just stood there, and for the first time he seemed small, not pathetic, just no longer bigger than the world I lived in. I left the party just before midnight, told Luis to make sure everyone was comfortable, told the staff they'd done a flawless job. I didn't say goodbye to anyone else. As I walked out through the main entrance, the music softened behind me. Laughter faded. My heels echoed on the stone path. The venue doors closed behind me. But something else opened inside. Back at home, I poured myself a glass of water and sat by the window. The city slept, unaware. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to be good, be loyal, be the one who bent so others didn't have to break. And then I thought about tonight. I had walked into a room full of people who thought they knew who I was, and left them speechless not with noise, but with truth. That was more than closure. That was reclamation. The next morning, my phone was full. Texts, missed calls, DMs, from cousins I hadn't heard from in years, from former neighbors, from people who had been perfectly silent through every step of my climb, now trying to scramble their way back into my light. Didn't know you were doing so well. We should reconnect. I always believed in you. So proud of you, even if we lost touch. They all had the same tone, sugar-glazed guilt with a side of networking. Even my father had left a voicemail. It was only 12 seconds long. He cleared his throat, said my name, then paused. Your mother and I were impressed last night. We should talk. That was it. No sorry. No, we were wrong. Just we should talk. But for once I didn't feel the need to reply. Not out of anger, just clarity. I didn't owe them a conversation. I went to Grove Ridge that afternoon. Not for work, just to walk the halls while they were empty. The staff had cleaned everything up. The candles had been boxed, the garden raked, the tables reset for a new event. It felt untouched, serene. I stepped onto the back patio and stood in the exact spot Darren had delivered his pitch the night before. The spot where he'd once said I owed him everything. Funny. I used to think silence meant failure. That being forgotten meant I wasn't good enough. Now I understood. Silence is power. Especially when you've spent a lifetime being drowned out by other people's noise. One of the newer servers, a teenager named Eli, approached as I stood there. He didn't know the backstory, just saw me looking pensive. "You okay?" he asked. "You look like you're carrying something big." I laughed, just once. "Not big," I said. "Just finally setting something down." He smiled. "Whatever it is, it looks like you won." I tilted my head. Did I? He looked at me like I'd asked a trick question. "You built all this. I mean, people don't just do that." I looked around, the arches, the beams, the soft light drifting through the glass, every inch chosen, every detail earned. Then I nodded. "I didn't win by proving anyone wrong," I said. "I won by proving myself right." Eli gave a quiet damn, then left me alone. Smart kid. That evening, I finally opened the text from Darren. It was long. Started with, "I don't know what to say." Moved into, "I was wrong to sue you, wrong to push, wrong to disappear." Then the ask. "Maybe we could talk, catch up, start fresh." I stared at the screen for a while, then I locked the phone. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Some people don't get to come with you, even if they share your blood, even if they cry at your feet later. Forgiveness doesn't require proximity, and peace doesn't need permission. 3 weeks passed. No response from me, no more messages from them. The world kept turning. I hosted a community dinner at the original Grove House Cafe. Sat with strangers and regulars. Ate soup with my sleeves rolled up. Laughed at someone's story about a cat stealing a croissant. And for a moment, I forgot about all of it. The courtroom. The silence. The betrayal. It didn't vanish. But it softened, like an old scar, still there, but no longer tender. Sometimes I think back to the person I was when Darren asked me for that $200K. Scared, unsure, desperate to prove I was still part of the family, even if it meant losing myself. And then I think about who I became when I said no. Who I had to become to survive that silence. That version of me? I'd rather be them 1,000 times over. Because they didn't build from bitterness. They built from belief. The last time I passed by my parents' house, months after the party, I didn't stop in. I just looked at the windows. Same curtains, same porch swing, same potted plants by the steps. But I felt no pull. Because the house that raised me wasn't the one that made me. I built that house myself. And I built it out of bricks no one handed me. In the end, I didn't need the money they expected me to give away. I didn't need the apology they were too proud to say. I didn't need their applause. Because they only clap when the lights are on, and I've learned to dance in the dark. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe. It will help a lot. Also, have you ever felt disrespected by your family as well? Let us know in the comments.